Hey, Derek Maltz, first of all, welcome for the first time to Sid and Friends in the Morning. I have to imagine, as a New York guy, you've been to Don Pepe's, yes?
Yes, sir. Very good.
You like it there?
Yes, I do. I appreciate the invite today to talk about this important topic that's destroying our country.
You're right. Derek is here to talk about the fentanyl that comes across the border. What a resume, Derek. Former special agent in charge of the United States Department of Justice Special Operations Division, 10 years. He was the chief of the New York Drug Enforcement Task Force. He was one of the guys that was really important, integral in taking down El Chapo Guzman. He has started all kinds of different groups like the Narco Terrorism Operations Center. I mean, Derek, reading your resume took me 15 minutes. Congratulations.
Well, I appreciate it. It's in my DNA. My father was also in charge of that New York task force for about 11 years, the largest and oldest task force in America. So New York's my home, and I appreciate you having me.
You got it. He also has received the Presidential Rank Award, and Derek Maltz has been a spokesperson at Congress and the lead spokesperson for the DEA for over 10 years. So as we talk about this crisis at the border, the president is in Mexico today. He was in El Paso a couple of days ago. It's going on and on about basically how it's not that bad. Then you got other folks saying, oh, hold on a second, Mr. Biden. The cartels are running that border, and the cartels are killing Americans by the dozens. Derek Maltz, you know the answer. What's the real truth?
Well, we have a clear and present danger to our U.S. national security. Everyone in America is affected. This is not a border issue because what's happening at the border is going to impact every American. And I work closely, by the way, Sid, with the families around America who have lost their kids, some of them as young as 12 years old, because they buy these poisonous pills online that's coming from these filthy, dirty labs in Mexico, killing our future generation. 107,000 9,000 a month of dying, and this president doesn't seem to even understand the magnitude of the threat. Look, I know we all make mistakes, but this past week he said more than 20,000 pounds of deadly fentanyl is enough to kill as many as 1,000 people. No, Mr. President, 1 gram of fentanyl, 1 gram could kill 500 people. So he's got it wrong. He doesn't know the facts. They don't know the magnitude. And by the way, we're also experiencing a historic level of lack of leadership north and south of the border. That's not helping us either.
Joe Esposito checks in, former chief of police. He says, by the way, I worked with Derek's father in the DEA back in the 1980s, so Espo sends his regards. You know, you talk about Joe Biden doesn't understand the power of fentanyl. And you know what I've been seeing, Derek, is every now and then a cop will make an arrest here in New York, and the bad guy will have fentanyl, and it'll be in the trunk of a car. The cop won't even touch the drug, won't even touch it. But just being close to it in nearby proximity, they still OD. That's incredible.
Well, Sid, first of all, the families against fentanyl have gone very aggressively to designate fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. It's super powerful, super deadly, very addictive, and very cheap to make. So the cartels are making these damn pills for less than 15 cents a pill, and then they sell them in America for $10, $20, $30 a pill. Here's the thing. Yeah, it's very dangerous to our first responders, and there's a lot of unknowns, too, and there's a lot of new chemicals that are being made in these Chinese labs, like isonitazine and etonitazine. And nitazine class is a very powerful synthetic opioid, more powerful than fentanyl, and that stuff's coming into America, too. So there's a lot of unknown synthetic drugs. But let's make something clear, Sid, because a lot of people don't know this. This started in China with the bombing of our country with synthetic drugs like K2 spice, bath salts, and then they went into the fentanyl around 2012. We've known about this. We declared an operation back in 2013. We briefed Eric Holder, and this thing has been just escalating over the years. So it's a disaster for the country. But these poor kids and these poor families, that's where I get my passion out.
Yep.
That's why I do what I do on a regular basis. Spread the awareness. Our schools will teach critical race theory, but they won't tell American kids that they will die if they take these illicit substances because they're all tainted.
Wow, that is unbelievable, and you're right about that. My son, for example, learns about, like you said, CRT and slavery and all this, a new movie, Will Smith, Emancipation, and up already. How about some of this stuff? You're right, that's killing Americans by the dozens. I want to follow that trail again, Derek, because most people don't really realize how this works. So these drugs are made in China. How do the Mexican cartels then go about getting it? Are they in bed with the Chinese government? How does that whole thing work, where the drugs go from China to the Mexican cartels to the streets of Staten Island?
So great question. So back around 2000 and let's just say 12, we started seeing our country being flooded on the internet in mail packages coming directly from labs in China with this poisonous fentanyl. It was mixed with heroin. We saw a lot of deaths. Then what happened was, over the years, China started sending pure fentanyl right to the Mexican cartels. So these Chinese lab operators that they've been working with forever on the methamphetamine production, they were sending the pure fentanyl to Mexico. Once Mexican cartels started realizing the profit, they started making their own. So the Chinese lab operators were sending all the precursor chemicals directly to the cartel lab operations.
Well, let me ask you this: so the Chinese lab operators, Derek, are sending the substances right to Mexico. Does the Chinese government get anything out of that, or is this just basically the lab operators acting on their own?
Well, the Chinese government is Communist Party, and they have an unrestricted warfare to destabilize America, and that's what this is about, and that's what no one's talking about. And by the way, Sid, here's another thing. You'll see a lot of breaking news today about all this stuff out of Congress on the Chinese. Well, guess what? The Chinese are doing all the money laundering in America for the cartels. The kids that are coming here on visas are picking up millions of dollars in the streets of New York, Chicago, L.A., and what they're doing is they're giving the cash to Chinese business owners who are buying property, real estate, and investments in America on cartel cash. And then they're getting the money back to the cartels very efficiently and effectively, and that's why business is booming. Because the chemicals are coming from China, the money laundering is being done with China, and our government's not even talking about it.
Wow.
It's a disgrace.
No, I spent a lot of my time in my life, Derek, living in South Florida. Lived in Boca Raton for 16 years. In fact, I just came back here 7 years ago. Went to Miami to college in Coral Gables back in 1984. So Miami is really my second home. And I became very friendly with a guy named Billy Corbin. And Billy, Derek, made these movies called Cocaine Cowboys. They were great movies. And they told a story about the lady, the grandmother who sold all the coke and all that stuff. And I remember almost every night there was a huge bust on the shores of Miami with all this cocaine coming across. So I know about the border. I know they're coming across the border with drugs. But, Derek, are we still experiencing the same type of drug trade in terms of numbers in Miami and other places that we saw when I was a kid?
Well, the cartels, the Mexican cartels, have taken over distribution of all drugs in America. The Colombians are not involved like they were back in the 80s.
Gotcha.
So, but just so it's clear, in New York City, in New York State, I should say, last year they seized over 70 million lethal doses of fentanyl, 1.9 million pills, and by the way, the DEA has put out an emergency notice that 6 out of 10 pills that they analyzed have a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. So just in New York State, and by the way, Sid, there's mass poisonings in New York right now. Broome County, the first 11 days, early December, 7 dead. Onondaga County, right before Christmas, 14 poisoned in a day and a half. And so it's just madness in America. We have people literally in Hamilton County, Ohio, in the first 5 days of October, 16 days. You don't even hear about this on the news.
Wow. Nope, you don't. So, Derek, in about 60 seconds, you dedicated your whole life to this. You and your father. God bless both of you. And, you still speak in front of Congress, and you're going to be a huge part of this show, I hope, moving forward. If Joe Biden called you today and said, Derek, okay, I admit it. I blew it. We're in trouble. I can't stop the drugs. What do I do? What would your advice be to the President of the United States right now?
All right, immediately you got to educate these kids. PSAs, education in the schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges. But we have to destroy the chemical production labs in Mexico immediately. That's where the poison's coming from. We have to get Mexico.
Well, hold on. How do you do that? You drop bombs? I mean, how do you go about doing that practically?
Okay, so this sounds aggressive to everyone probably listening, but we've never in the history of this country had terrorists killing American kids and Americans like we have. So we have a sense of urgency. So, yes, if the Mexican cartels get on board, we can help them with some of our technology. We can help them, support operations. But if not, we use some state-of-the-art technology. We destroy the labs. We don't go to war with Mexico. We love Mexico. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about destroying their capabilities to produce poisonous drugs that are killing our kids. We got to shut the chemicals coming in from China. We have to also seize all their assets, shut down this Chinese money laundering, use the Treasury Department after we designate the cartels as terrorists, and we treat this like a national security emergency, not another drug issue. We've never had this in the history of the country. So anyone that thinks this is just another drug issue, no, it's an attack on our country, and we have to treat it differently. And that's the difference, Sid.
What an amazing conversation. What a first time on this show. Derek Maltz, I look forward to bringing you back many, many, many times. Thank you for your service to this country. You're a great American, and thank you for a great conversation on this show this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate you calling me because this is an important topic, and I know you have a top show. So thank you, and God bless. Happy New Year.
You too. Happy New Year to you. That's Derek Maltz, a true American hero right there, folks. And hopefully Derek will come back often because that guy's got balls of steel. That guy's a great American.